Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast, where we discuss and analyze your favorite marble sports. From JMR Marble League to I'll Go Do tournaments, we'll make sure you never miss the action. All marble sports, all the time, right here on the MSW Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Commander Wolf.
Overrated, underrated for the week. We haven't done one of these for quite a while.
Oh my gosh.
Overrated,
You are actually bringing this back.
French crullers. Those things are underrated. Oh my god, they are so good. I implore you to go buy a French cruller like now. Like go to your Walmart, bakery, whatever. I bought them from Walmart. I was in Walmart. I was getting like just Rubbermaids because we're moving and you need a million Rubbermaids, and just stuff like that. And I just saw French crullers in the donut area. I was like, I gotta try them. I haven't tried in a while. I remember them being okay. Let me get a bite. Let me get a little bit of a hint of French cruller in my mouth. There was like a 2-pack. I ate that 2-pack in about 3 seconds, bro. They were so good. I can't even express how good they are. They're just like light. They're like lighter than a donut. They have an interesting kind of Frenchy vanilla taste. They have a small crunch, but not too much. It's like a almost unnoticeable crunch, but they have a little bit of a nice little crunch you bite in, and it's nice and airy on the inside. They have a sweet glaze on the oh my god. Oh, gotta try a French cruller. If you haven't tried one before, if you haven't had it in a while, go back and give it another shot. They are so good.
Okay. I guess try and find something that's underrated.
No, you can respond to if you've had a French cruller before.
Have never had one before, but I looked up an image just now, and I think I know what it looks like, so I guess I could try one.
You should definitely try one. I cannot express this. It's so good. I bought 2. I ate them, and then one of the things I bought from Walmart, I made a mistake, so I had to go return it. I bought 4 more and ate all of those 2 in the same day. So I had about 6 in one day.
My word.
They are amazing. Wow. Anyways, enough of that. Well, if you happen to have one, you can throw one out there. If not, there's no obligation. I didn't like you probably guessed when you were surprised by this, for the viewers. WAF was not briefed on that. I just did it.
I can't even remember when was the last time you did this segment, because this is one of the oldest ideas that you came up with. Like I think it's like episode 2 or something.
Overrated.
I think it's episode 1. Was it episode
Overrated?
1?
Indigo Stars, by the way. I hate the Indigo Stars for this year. Do not pick them. But we'll see what our special guest has to say about them today. Maybe I'll be swayed, but I think the Indigo Stars are overrated. Same with the Mini Maniacs. But with that all being said, it was a long time since I've done this segment. I started it back in episode 2, and I forget what I was the premise, and then I think I did it once or twice again throughout the last 100 episodes. I just do it every once in a while. I hit you with something crazy.
It was about the Marble Olympics teams. Like I think your underrated was like the Green Ducks, and overrated was like the Midnight Wisps or something.
Midnight Wisps are overrated. They didn't even qualify this year. Come on, man. How do you not qualify?
It was an animation, so we can check it real quick.
How do you win? How do you win Marble League and not qualify for actually not that far after the win? I know it was a few years, but still, like I understand if they didn't qualify like 2026. It's a completely different Marball game. But only 3 years after, and like you didn't qualify. Come on, your lack of qualifying gave spots to the Chocolatiers, to the Indigo Stars, to the Limers. I love the Limers to death. Anyway,
yeah,
we have a special guest today. We have a special topic today, as you know by the title. One of the most important moments in the marble sports year. And we're going to really dive into it. We're going to give you a complete guide on how to pick a good fantasy team. This will carry over, of course, on this can be, I guess, extrapolated to Marbula 1 and Sand Rally, but we're going to focus, of course, on Marble League when we talk today. So we hope that when you come out of this episode, you feel confident picking your team. This will be framed as someone who wants to pick their team to win the fantasy draft competition, not someone who wants to pick their favorite teams. If you want to have a fantasy team where you pick your favorite teams, then you don't need an hour episode for that, because you just go pick your favorite teams. I mean, there's nothing difficult or confusing or complex about that. What you think in your head, what do I like? Oh, I like the Chocolatiers even though they suck. I'm going to pick them for my fantasy team. And that's how it goes. It's easy. But this is for the person who may not even want to pick their favorite teams, may not even consider their favorite teams, wants to pick the best fantasy team of the year. We'll get to all that and our special guest right after the news.
I just want to finish real quick. I checked your thing. You actually put the Wisps as an underrated. It was the exact opposite.
You know what, Waff? I summed up the intro so well. You heard what
I know you did, and I specifically wanted
after the news, and you had to come through. You had to come in right after that beautiful summation with some little comment that actually that's important. If I said they were underrated, damn.
Yeah, back in the day.
I mean, the perfect sum up, the perfect summation at the end of the intro. I guess I have to do it again. Thank you, Waff, for telling us about my first overrated, underrated segment. We always appreciate that correction of information. And we'll get to all that fantasy stuff and the special guest. I can't even remember what I said before, so it's already to hell. It's already to hell, Waff, right after the news.
Hey guys, it's Wolf here. Just letting you know that there's no news for this episode, unfortunately. Johnny just his voice was tired from doing other voice work, so I'm just gonna let him have a break here. There should be news for episode 104, so look forward to that. Back to the show.
All right, the news is over. Now let the fantasy picking begin. I am so excited. I want to just dive in immediately and start picking fantasy, but unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, we have to welcome our special guest for today. He's been on a few times, and he is definitely one of the few people in the community that I trust with credible information regarding my very important fantasy team picks. That person would be Bill Frosby. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Frosby.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you.
It really is, and I do trust your words. You will probably have an effect on me and Waff's picks today.
Oh, that's not good.
When we go through our fantasy picks. And I think it's going to be useful. I think you are going to direct us in a better way. So let's hope that you don't steer us wrong and tell us to pick the Indigo Stars, Chocolatiers, and Limas for ×3s, all right?
I can already tell you I was not planning on advising to pick any of those three teams, so...
Smart man.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be enjoyable to see the Limers playing again in Marble League. And the Indigo Stars, because it's been a while since they've played. So, I mean, they probably won't win, but they'll be enjoyable to see again. I mean.
True.
Yeah, for real. And I think that part of the reason that I'm not going to be picking them is because we haven't seen them in a while. And we should not put our stock in a team when we have 16 teams and only 5 picks. We shouldn't put our stock on a team that we don't really know what the recent performance looks like. So definitely be careful there. But before we get into actually making our picks and actually going pick by pick through it all, I want to put the question out on the table, and I'll actually start answering this one because I have a bunch on the top of my head right now. But the question at hand here is, what is a good way to pick a fantasy team? If you are a clean slate, if you are bare bones, you know nothing about any of the teams, let's say. You are just into Marble League, but you have this desire to win the fantasy league, or at least do very well, top 10 even, for this year in fantasy. Where do you start? What do you do? What strategies do you take? What kind of research should you perform to make educated picks? I actually will start by answering this one, and then we'll converse about it. I do want to also mention, if you're wondering what is fantasy, what is this fantasy league, feel like I should even step back a little bit further. The Fantasy Marble League is it's kind of it's a fan competition that happens. It's run by the Marble Base in the Marble Base. If you join the Marble Base Discord for JMR, there is a channel that you can type a little word in, and then it'll give you a link to join the fantasy league. You join the fantasy league and you pick 5 teams. The first one being a 3 times points multiplier, second 2 times, and then 3 1 times multipliers. And then you have that team out there, and then based on how your teams that you pick perform in the Marble League, you get points, and you compare against everybody else's teams and see who has the most after the 16 events. So it's become a very fun way for fans to engage in marble sports. To start with the question proposed, though, I really see 2 very important aspects of research for fantasy picks. First things you got to do. First thing for sure that you need to do is you need to look, especially if you don't really have teams that you are kind of feeling or not feeling, you need to look at their performance in the qualifiers and the friendly round, especially the qualifiers, because the friendly round can be a little dicey, but the qualifiers is really where the story is going to be. You want to know which teams are performing well now. All right? O'Rangers may win the first year of Marble League. They won the second year. They may win the second year Marble League back in 2017. But they may come into the qualifiers and do awful and barely scrape by. So maybe even though they've won before, they're not the best team to pick for this year. And the same can be said in the other way. Some team like the Limers in the future, they've obviously been pretty bad lately, but in the future you might see them come into a qualifiers and get 3 golds. Then your eyes need to be on the Limers as you look. So you really need to see, how did the teams do in the qualifiers? And the teams that seem to have a lot of momentum, maybe give them a closer look. The second thing you have to do, in my opinion, is after you need to start with qualifiers. You pick a bunch of teams from qualifiers that you deem pick worthy. Next, you need to go back into the history of those teams, and based off the core events of Marble League, or the events you think will be in the Marble League, or if you happen to know it, they didn't put a list out, you need to look at their past experience in those events. You need to see, how have these teams performed over the 5-6 years at this point in specific events like 5-meter sprints, specific events by balancing, especially final endurance. And if they're on an upward trajectory, great. But has it been 16th place across the board except for this qualifiers? Because that may affect how you view that team. If you have let's say you have 2 teams, say Mellow Yellow and friggin' Team Galactic. Well, Team Galactic is not in this year, so I don't want to use them. Mellow Yellow of Indigo Stars.
Swarm.
All right, you put them out there. You look at both teams. They both have great momentum in this year's qualifiers. You go back to their previous history, and you see, oh wow, the Mellow Yellow has been great at 5-meter sprint, great at final endurance, and Indigo Stars have been like, wow, last place every time. And that's not true. I'm just for example. Then you're like, maybe I'd lean Mellow Yellow over Indigo Stars because they both did well in the qualifiers. So that's kind of a rough guide on how you should look at fantasy picks. Now I'll open it up. Frosby, Waff, what do you think? Did I miss anything? Probably. What do you think about those ideas?
No, I feel like you kind of nailed it. Like look at what they're doing recently, but also like kind of pay attention to past trends. Like one thing that I noticed is like with the Limers, like anytime they would do good, like then like for instance in qualifiers they would do really good in an event, but then come the main event, like that, like either they changed the marble or they had the same marbles competing, but then they just did like significantly worse. So like sometimes like you like while they may do good, sometimes they're inconsistent in the events that they normally do good in. And so it's like it's hard to actually really count on the Limers to be consistent, either because they just are an inconsistent team or the coach just doesn't seem to put the right team members on the right events. Do you have anything else to add, Frosby?
I just think it's an interesting question because he proposed the idea that someone doing this fantasy is doing it not knowing the Marble League, and I was like, if that's what you're going with, then they honestly could just pick based off of just which 5 teams look the coolest. I mean, because they don't really know.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would do.
They don't know anything about the league. But if you want to the analytical, like how do you pick the 5 best? And that's
the question, because I'm saying you're coming in and you may not know anything about Marble League. You may know a little bit about Marble League, but it's more like if your goal is to win the fantasy. So you're deciding, I don't want to just pick the 5 that I like the best. I don't want to just pick the 5 favorite. I don't want to just pick the 5 that I see most talked about on Reddit.
Yep,
I want to pick the 5 that will win. Whether you know, of course, and actually this applies whether you know nothing about Marble League or you know a bunch about Marble League. What kind of research should you be procuring?
You know what you could do for fun? You could pick the 5 teams that have the best average of events to golds.
That's true.
Explain that a little bit.
Say this one team has competed at 40 events in their whole career, right? So that'd be like 2 Marble Leagues, right? And in those 40 events, they got like 4 golds. Then you would divide 40 by 20, so they would have a 0.25% chance of winning a gold. That team would have a really good, because golds are worth the most points. That's 25 points. Usually teams are ending around 200. So, that's an eighth of the way there to winning, basically. So that would be that. Or, on the other end, you could also be like, instead of golds, you could just be 5 teams who've won the most medals, on average, though. Because average is an important thing. Because, of course, teams like Savage Speeders, Rangers, Mellow Yellow, Thunderbolts, they've been around in every single Marble League, so by default, they will have the most medals. But if you took an average, we would know that like Savage Speeders and Rangers have a better medal average than like the Mellow Yellow and Thunderbolts, because they're not as efficient at winning medals as those other 2 teams. Because like we all know, Savage Speeders and Rangers are known for like winning their medals, right?
Savage Speeders
well,
and
the
Rangers,
other 2,
one of some of the best teams on the planet right now.
Yeah, well, the other 2 are like it seems like every 3 games they'll get a medal, which is still really good, but it's just like it's Savage Speeders or Rangers is legit. Like if they're not on the podium, like teams worked hard to beat them.
Now that is a fair point, definitely for sure. First of all, about the averages, of course. By that you mean so that if you want to compare someone like Savage Speeders versus, let's say, Indigo Stars, Raspberry Racers, Green Ducks, teams that haven't competed in as many Marble Leagues, then what you're doing, you're kind of bringing it down so that even if you competed in half the Marble Leagues, well then the average kind of brings it to, well, how many medals are you getting per numbered events? So you can actually make a fair comparison between and maybe the Indigo Stars, Chocolatiers versus Savage Speeders, as opposed to being like, oh, well, Savage Speeders have all these medals, this team has not so much, but you're forgetting the fact that they haven't been around as long.
Correct.
True. I think we should actually start talking about our picks, because like there are some other aspects, like seeing like trends, like across the years that only like a dedicated fan, like it's like for like people just coming in, they won't really probably care about trends. They'll just pick like things like averages, like Frosby said. But for people like us who one have been around for a long time and 2 care way too much about this, we'll be looking at those deeper things, like the trends of like over the years, like how are they trending upward or downward, and like what events are they really good at? It's like what and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you have to be aware that sometimes there's an element of maybe not everyone thinks this, but I think there's an element of feel sometimes in picking. There's you can feel a momentum. You can kind of feel, wow, this team, they haven't been amazing previously, but right now they feel like they are rolling fast. And especially coming into this year, when you think about the Crazy Cat's Eyes and Raspberry Racers, possibly, they're all good teams, but I mean, they have good momentum right now. At least I feel that. So the feeling of the past couple of years, or the past year of performance in Marble League and in other events, you might be able to get a gist of the momentum of certain teams, and that they might be a little bit better than usual into the coming year.
Agreed.
Yep.
I guess with that, we've kind of held off long enough. Let's start looking through our picks, dude.
Yep, number
All right,
one.
let's get to it. So times 3 is the first one that they ask you to pick. I have the picks pulled up here.
Yep, same.
Times 3 is your first one. Now, in my opinion, if you're picking a win, your times 3 multiplier pick is the team you think will win Marble League. All right, and I say this because the team who wins Marble League is the one who gets the most points. So you will get the most points if you pick the winner. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but some people might be like, well, maybe the times 3 might be your favorite team, or maybe it's the times 3 might be the one who comes out best in the averaging. The times 3, when you boil it down, has to be the team that you think will win. It's not just always Savage Speeders times 3 because you know they'll get some points, or always Orangers times 3 because you know they'll get some points. You really, if you put research in, the team that you think will come out as the overall gold is the team that you need to pick for times 3. Are you guys in agreement of that, or what do you think?
For this year, yeah. In the past, I've always picked Momo as my my times 3, just to say like I support you all the way. I believe in you this year, but this year I do want to like try doing something more statistical.
Yeah, you want to win.
I mean, I've done even with that method, I've actually done very good in the past few years. So honestly, if it continues that way, then actually changing my style might actually result in a victory, or at least a close victory for me this year.
Yep, for sure. And that brings us to the first question. Well, which teams do we think are going to win this year? This is the big question for Marble League, but. I guess I want to turn to Bill here quickly because we have a lot of stats out there, and he's usually good at interpreting them. What teams might win this year?
That's a really tough question, actually,
You bet.
because there's so many factors to put in. But I will name the biggest one in the room is the Crazy Cat's Eyes. The Cat's Eyes are on a streak right now. They won Marbula 1. Let's look at Marbula 1. They won Marbula 1. They won it. They decimated Marbula 1.
Yeah,
let's take a look at Marble League, right? Marble League 2019, they got back in, right? They got the qualifiers. They took right in the middle. I believe they took 10th place. It's not the best, but that was their first qualifiers coming back. But they come back the next season. Where do we see them? We see them in, where was it? We see them in 11th, but then we come back in 2020, they took 5th, right? So in the same year, they get 5th in 2020, then they go on to Marbula 1 and they take 1st. So they go 11th, 5th, 1st. And they just are decimating. And also, we had that little minor winter league where the Oceanics won. Crazy Cat's Eyes, if you don't remember, they started that league with 2 golds. They quickly fell off, but they were still in the top 3 at the end of that league as well. So it's they are on a hot streak right now.
Wait, so they actually overall top 3'd in the Winter Marble League?
I think so, just because they had such an early lead. I might be wrong
Winter
there.
Special, yeah.
I don't have those stats here for that. They might 3rd or 4th, but I know those 2 early leads gave them a huge jump up.
No, that is but 2 golds in a row and
right at the start.
That upward trajectory is really nice.
In the Winter League Special?
Yeah.
I see 1 gold in Ice Dash.
Okay, maybe it was a different medal then.
Yeah,
did they mean
that was Blue Eye, which Ice Dash is not actual elements, but we did kind of discuss last week about how Blue Eye is consistently the best racer for elemental stuff. They do the best at sand at snow, at ice, and underwater. Ice Dash is not actually ice, and but in universe it's ice, and they still did well. So Blue Eye is the racer for that, and the other thing we noticed is Red Eye really only did well on racing consistently on Marbula 1 style track.
Right.
And they are really good at racing, but it all depends on what specifically they are racing on.
There's a lot of speed events. Crazy Cat's Eyes will be the team to beat. But if they do a lot of non-speed events, because of Marbula 1 exists, right? Crazy Cat's Eyes, they still might be a really strong team because they're on a hot streak. So the question just is, will the hot streak continue, or will it flop out here?
Well, here's something I do want to mention, and this unfortunately is a factor that you can't really control, but does contribute. If you take 5-meter sprint for the Crazy Cat's Eyes over all time, actually, they have 11th, 3rd, and 12th. This is only including main events, no qualifiers. The 1/3 place was when they ran Green Eye in the 5-meter sprint, which we determined the best sprinting racer for the Crazy Cat's Eyes in the previous week, a couple weeks ago. The other 2 were not run by Green Eye, actually, and I'm pretty sure I took a double look at that yesterday when I saw. And so, I mean, that does bring the unfortunate unknown of what marble will race in the... Well, what marble will compete in what event? Because if Green Eye competes in all the 5-meter sprints and Blue Eye competes in all the terrain races, you probably got a pretty good spread of Crazy Cat's Eyes points. But if they flop those, then it will not end up as good. So that is part of it. But I will say that, of course, applies to every team, and I don't know if that can be easily factored into predictions.
And it is important to remember that this is Marble League, so like it's not gonna be like all racing stuff. Like we have things like high jump and long jump, and hurdles is technically racing, but it does have a little bit different to it. It has it does change the results a bit. Then we have things like diving hasn't been back since 2016, but who knows? Maybe they'll bring diving back. I'd actually kind of like that. I would love that if they brought diving back just for some variety. But like, there's other things we gotta like while they're good at racing, sure. There are a whole lot of other events that that we gotta consider.
All right. But I do think the Crazy Cat's Eyes are a good pick. They're one of the ones I'm bouncing for ×3. They have good long jump and balancing track records. Their block pushing track record isn't terrible. Their collision and sand rally leaves something to be desired. But like Frosby said, their upward trajectory in the last 2 years is not to be ignored. We've seen, 11th, 5th, 3rd, first in the events they've competed in over the last 4 tournaments. I mean, that's something to note. Unfortunately, they have nowhere to go but down since they have a first place now. But as far as Marble League goes, they can still go up to first place.
I don't know. Savage Speeders won Marbula 1, then Marble League.
That is another good point. They had momentum and they pushed out, but they are the Savage Speeders, so they do have kind of a special...
It's true. And the chances of 2 teams doing that in back-to-back seasons would be crazy. And that's something you would have to add in there. The odds, right? What are the odds that we see 2 different teams in back-to-back seasons win both events? Be crazy.
Right.
I'm literally like I'm doing studying for my FE exam, which is basically like the first exam step to get my engineering license. And I literally just did probability like last week. Yeah. And I could actually tell you that answer if I had the time.
Wait, but wouldn't those odds be immaterial because the Savage Speeders doing that and the Crazy Cat's Eyes doing that are 2 independent events? So you can
exactly.
The math Savage Speeders.
Math can only account for like if every team is exactly the same and they all have an even chance, like a coin flip. Whereas, but as we know, like they all have their own specialties and their experience, and so like it doesn't actually. So it'd only be like a theoretical chance, not a literal chance.
And there is one other factor. If you believe in it, it's the host cursed.
Oh, enough with that. Enough with that. Me and Waff are not believers.
They won the friendly round. I
don't believe in the host curse. I'm just saying that for the people who might be listening and be like, hey, what about the host curse? Yeah. Well, here's all 3 of us saying that's nothing.
Big Gets Big Takes then. No, I'm kidding. Actually, that's a great podcast. I don't know if they're a host curse believing podcast. I feel like they would entertain it more than ours. But we talked about this. I don't know if Frosby was here when we talked about this, but we talked about this and really did establish by data, by numbers, the host curse is not real. The host curse is literally an Oceanics invented thing because one time it happened and people wanted to make drama regarding it. And then people try to like find little host cursey things, and they're like, "Oh my god, they finished 7th instead of 1st because sometimes Marble teams can't finish 1st, but that means host curse because they happen to be hosting." I mean, that is an argument. I unfortunately stand on the side of no curse. But yeah, if you are a host curse believer, that is something you might need to, I guess, in your belief, because it's your opinion, of course, you need to consider that. You need to consider. The Crazy Cat's Eyes worth the risk if you think that there's a thundercloud over their head going into this year. Frosby, what are the other teams you think might win this year?
Let's see here. As for the other two, it's a lot harder to determine, right? But I feel like Raspberry Racers, they had a very solid qualifier, 2 golds, one bronze, I believe. Very strong qualifier.
Indeed, yeah. And being honest here, I think that like this as it stands right now, I think the Racers might be my ×3 pick, just because like that was like such a dominant like. We know, like we all know from experience that like the qualifiers it's not necessarily indicative of like how the season's gonna go, but like that was probably one of the most dominant performances we've ever seen in a qualifiers period. Mm-hmm. Like even though it was only against like half of the qualifying teams, that's still something.
Well, the Raspberry Racers is what I would call I would name in this situation a safe pick, meaning that by their previous performance and their kind of presence, they're very likely not going to be a team that performs in the bottom third into this year. So even if you're not sure if they're going to be your winning team, they might find a nice place in your 2 or 1 times multipliers because they're probably going to get you some points. They're not going to get nothing, right? So if you want to talk about the Raspberry Racers, I think they do have a place on your team. My advice, but I don't. They're hard to say they're gonna win. Hard to say they're gonna win. They were a very up and down team. Their Marbula 1 performance was very bad, and I know they kind of picked it up here in the qualifiers, but I mean that pressure that got to them in Marbula 1 might return when they're in the main events for Marble League and some of the more racing styled events. It's hard to put the Raspberry Racers in a ×3 for me this year, but they are a good thought.
I can't ignore like the whole like M1 thing, but at the same time, M1 is so different from Marble League. It's like just both on like what they're competing on as well as like the kind of like competition it is. Mm-hmm. That like I feel like it's not gonna be like it's not really indicative of much, honestly.
Yeah, no, but see that's all preference to preference for sure. So. But I want to hear it. Last team you think is going to win Marble League?
Minty Maniacs.
Minty Maniacs. Well, that brings 2 questions, but let me ask the first one and hold on the second one. Why do you think the Minty Maniacs are going to win this year? Because I am not in agreement with that, but I want to hear your thought process.
It's my out there pick. But they're like the Crazy Cat's Eyes. They've been showing positive signs that they are improving and that they keep doing better and better. I mean, last season they ended up in 3rd, right? And they came out of nowhere.
Indeed.
Came out of nowhere and took 3rd. Maybe they might not win, but honestly, they have been showing a lot of good signs. They did take last in the friendly round, but again, that's the friendly round. You could just chalk that up too. It doesn't actually amount to anything. Like they're not competing to like be in it. They're already in.
And there's only 4 teams too, right? So
yeah, it's only 4 teams and they're already in. So it's like you could argue they're not giving effort because, well, I mean, they're in. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, you could argue energy conservation.
True.
So this is my out there pick, but the thing is, they've been showing signs that they are slowly crawling up and coming out of just getting in the Marble Leagues, showing that they're there, showing that they are a team that can compete and can get golds. They have been getting a good amount of golds. I stated earlier, the top 5 teams who have the best averages, out of all these teams, they're number 5. So they have a good gold average.
Who are your top 4?
Savage Speeders, Crazy Cat's Eyes, Green Ducks.
Wow.
Green Ducks, which as a Green Ducks fan, I could tell you, Green Ducks are really good at taking gold, but they can't take any other medal. So, I mean, so don't be so surprised by that because if they get a medal, it's a gold or nothing else. So, and then it's, I gotta navigate because there's 2 other teams that have really good gold averages, but they are not in. And that was like the Midnight Wisps and, who's the other team? Not Galactic. Jungle Jumpers, for some reason, have a really good gold average. They're like the Ducks. They get gold or they just are on the bottom, right?
Wait, but who's number 4?
I'm looking. Number four, Hazers.
Noah Rangers?
Hazers.
Nope.
Whoa.
Here's the average. It's 0.108 for Maniacs, 0.106 for Rangers. Rangers are really good at getting medals.
Oh.
Medals.
So, interesting.
So, like, you'll see them at the end of the season with, like, 2-2-2. Well, you'll look at teams that, like, the Ducks and the Speeders, well, they'll have, like, 3. The Speeders will be, like, 4-1-1, and the Ducks will just be, like, 3-0-0, right? Rangers are good at just getting medals.
Whoa.
So.
Wow. No, but wow, that sheds some interesting light on pick possibilities. So we're looking at, okay, Savage Speeders, obviously they're going to get golds, they get everything. Crazy Cat's Eyes, just here see them as the second most gold medal average.
Yep.
That kind of reframes my view of the Crazy Cat's Eyes here. Of course, Green Ducks, I expected them to be high, but to see them up there in the Hazers, interesting. The Rangers are a little lower than expected, but then you do have to factor in them really getting medals often. It's just hitting it over and over again with different medals. Bronzes, silvers are always a team to compete with. And if you're always a team to compete with, even if you're not always getting golds, if you're always a competing team, usually you do come out pretty well because you're always there and you're always putting yourself in a position to get gold. So I guess my second question, when you said Mini Maniacs, like I said, there was 2. Number 1, of course, I was like, why Mini Maniacs? But number 2, why not O'Rangers? Why is O'Rangers not in your top 3 this year, especially as a team who always puts themselves in a position to get medals? And number 2, a team that was robbed last year. They were winning until the last event, and it all fell apart. The last couple events, and we said, I remember we said 3-4 events before the end, we said that the O'Rangers got this. That there is no way the Savage Speeders are going to make up the ground. There is no way the Savage Speeders are going to turn this thing around, and they did. So the O'Rangers, bar the Savage Speeders, the best team in JMR history with all margins, just by far, except for Rapidly, who sucks. Without them, the O'Rangers are your best team last year in Marble League. So my question to you again is, why not the O'Rangers for this year?
I think they'll take 4th.
4th, man.
I don't think they're going to get a finish on the podium.
Why not?
Last year I think was their year, and they blew it. And they're kind of gonna. There's way too many other hot teams coming up, and they had their chance. And if you notice in the past, looking at past patterns of the Rangers, look at the very first couple seasons, they won, and then what happened after they won? They kind of fell down. They kind of they didn't fall like to the bottom, but they fell like to the middle of the pack, and they sat there for a couple seasons. And then last year they came back, they reemerged, they pushed their shot again for the win, a second title. And they fell just short. And I think they're going to go right back down again. So they have like a couple years where they have to regroup, and then they come back up. And that's why I don't think they're going to win. Because I think they're a team that does good, and then they regroup.
Listen, my 2 picks that I've been bouncing around for times 3 have been the Crazy Cat's Eyes and the O'Rangers. Because I think one of those 2 will win. You have provided a solid argument, and I went into this leaning O'Rangers. You have provided a pretty solid argument that Crazy Cat's Eyes might be the much better pick here for times 3 as far as wins. Of course, you leave Green Ducks on the table, you leave Hazers on the table, and all those exceptional teams and Mini Maniacs and stuff like that. But I mean, I might lean Crazy Cat's Eyes.
I gotta ask, in regards to that whole the gold medal average stat for the Crazy Cat's Eyes, is that only Marble League?
No, it's Marble 1 and Marble League. I was going to add that in, but we kind of got in the middle. This is Marble 1 and Marble League. I just put them together because it makes it easier for me. So do take that into effect. Yeah. This isn't purely Marble League. If we were to take purely Marble League, I know Rangers have a way better average than the Crazy Cat's Eyes, because Rangers are a lot better in Marble League than they are in Marbula 1.
Well,
and vice versa for
Crazy
Crazy Cat's Eyes.
That does kind of change thought process.
Yeah, because I'm looking at their I'm looking at the stats right now. It's like the KC Cat's Eyes have gotten 3 gold medals total in their three, one for each Marble League that they competed in so far. So like their average would be lower there, but also they have only they've only competed in 3 other Marble Leagues, whereas others have competed in more. So the averaging there would still be a bit off. So like they are still impressive, and Marble 1 is important to remember and consider a little bit. I won't deny that, but like I think it's important that it's not given the same weight because it's just not the same type of competitions that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, I just don't have a chart that is these separated. I don't have a chart like that, so. Yeah, the best
so
I
ask you guys now. I ask you guys with this information and a lot to consider here, and there's a lot of possible feel back and forth. Man, what are you guys gonna go with? Times 3, please.
I'm still feeling those racers, man. Like I don't know what it is, but like just that incredible performance. Like it's really gotten my confidence in them back. Like just like they've always like finished either like it was 8th and 9th place for 2 of their years, and then first for their 2019 performance. Like it's like they've either finished top of the pack or middle of the pack. So like they are not a bad team, and like just the way that they absolutely destroyed Group B in the qualifiers, I got a lot of faith in them right now.
It's so hard to pass up the Rangers right now. It is so hard. It is so hard. Frosby, what are you going with?
Crazy Cat's Eyes. Even though I do not like the team at all, I feel like they are the team to beat this season. So I'm locking in Crazy Cat's Eyes as my times 3.
This is so hard. I'm crying.
Trust your gut, man.
Because I know what my times 2 is. Man, my gut tells me
you're a Marble
Rangers.
Sports connoisseur, man.
Yeah, my
you
gut
know what
says
you want.
But
Then
you
pick
a
Rangers.
argument against them. And Crazy Cat's Eyes is a good pick. Crazy Cat's Eyes is a solid pick. Crazy Cat's Eyes is not a team to pass up. But I just feel I have it like it's weird like inside feeling that even though patterns show a better Rangers season, even though they are probably demoralized by that performance last year, even though they came out and they did terrible in the friendly round, not just doing bad in Sand Rally, but as I mentioned last week, also underperforming very noticeably in the Funnel Endurance event. Something's telling me that the O-Rangers are your best team this year. They are the team that's going to come out and win. And I think that, guys, even if I'm wrong, even if I need to be pinned to a cross for this, I'm going to go with the O-Rangers.
I don't think anyone's going to pin you to a cross for picking the Rangers, honestly.
Well, let me tell you what, Mr. Frosby. As Marble,
one of the most
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sports connoisseurs. No, I know. But as Marble Sports connoisseurs here on the podcast, me and Waff, especially me, have a sort of an expectation that of all the people who submit their fantasy teams, we expect to finish in the top 10%.
Oh, jeez.
Of all the teams. So if there's 300 teams, we need to be top 30.
I mean, I've only been able to finish in the top 10 once, so...
Top 10%. Wow. Top 10 is...
not top 10%.
So top 10%. Yeah. So
I got first.
And with top 25% being passable and top 10% being expected and satisfactory. So
yeah.
These picks are real, and the Rangers, it like pains me to pick them, but I feel it.
Then
Bill.
pick them.
I feel it.
Easy.
I'm gonna
pick them.
Pick them.
Like they're a good team.
Yeah, we're not gonna mock you for this.
Also a good team.
Yeah, but I picked them, so I mean, so let's diversify our fantasy teams because we're gonna end up picking these 3 teams later on in our picks, anyways. It's like.
Yeah, you make a very solid point. Crazy Cat's Eyes will be appearing in my 1 times multipliers. Yeah. Now, let's talk times 2 multipliers, because times 2 multipliers are a little bit different than your times 3 multipliers. And I want to frame it as this. Times 3 is the team you think is going to win this year. That's the fact. There's no arguing with that. Times 2 is the team that you think most consistently will give you points. The team that you know, no matter what year you pick them, at least in a space of time. If you listen to this episode and we're on like year 20 or 30 of Marble League, you got to be careful of the probably just 5 years back and forward kind of thing. No matter what year you pick them, you know. I left Esker silence there. That was funny. You know that team will give you a solid amount of points. My personal opinion on this one, and this one's up for very slight argument, but I'm pretty solid on this one. My personal opinion is that the Savage Speeders are your best _2 pick option because they will, even if they don't win this year, and I think they won't, they are a team that will always give you medals. They will always give you a gold. They will always give you some medals. They will always give you points. They will rarely finish last. And so I personally am already pretty solid on Savage Speeders as ×2. What do you guys think?
Me? I'm feeling Hazers, honestly.
Now, why Hazers?
Hazers,
or do you think they're consistent enough to always have points?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their medals, like their overall, so 2018 to 2020 in this order, 6th, 3rd, 6th. That's been like they are top quarter. They've always been finished in top quarter. Like, that's just kind of their...
They have been very consistent. They have been.
Let me actually do my math, so I'm not getting that wrong. 6 out of 16.
Well,
it's not top quarter, but whatever. That's top 8.
My question to you in regards to the situation...
top 3/8.
Would be, why Hazers instead of Savage Speeders?
I feel like it's because, like, you know, the last time, like the speeders were like on that, like riding on that high, like they won the first one, and then they finished like in the top like 3 in the second year, and then they finished 5th, which is not bad, but like they had that trend downward. The Hazers, funny, I got this feeling, but I was like they kind of did alternating thing, like we're like 6th, 3rd, 6th. Mm-hmm. So if this trend continues, they're gonna get like 3rd or higher again if that continues.
So you're basically saying you see a downward trend for the Savage Speeders this year, but an upward trend for the Hazers.
Right. That just based on past history, like they like the Speeders, like they have their day in the sun, like their 2 days in the sun basically, and then they go down again and before returning.
You make a decent argument, Frosby.
I'm just gonna lock in Speeders right now. They probably won't win, but they'll get a top 5 finish.
Are you in agreement with me that your ×2 needs to be your most consistent team?
Yes. It's a smart way to play. You could also put like 3 consistent teams, and you could also, there's another way you could look at it. You could do a ×3 is your prediction of who you think will take first. ×2 is the team you're like, I think they'll take first as well, but not as much as this other team. And then you could pick the last 3 as the 3 most consistent. So you could be like Speeders, Rangers, Hazers, you know. The 3 most consistent, right? You could do it that way too. That's another way you could do it. So
I mean, I forgot the trend. It was like 1st, 2nd actually for Speeders, then 5th.
Yeah.
But like
they always finish in the top 5.
They always do.
5 years,
you are right.
Never missed the top 5, and I just don't feel like they're gonna miss it again this year. And here's why. Here's why I don't think. Now, I don't think the Savage Speeders are gonna win. But the Savage Speeders have been the first in everything in Marble League and everything in Marble sports history, except for one thing. Now they've also not been a repeat champion yet in Marbula 1, so they will be the first for that probably, but not yet. They've been the first to win Marble League. They've been the first to repeat win Marble League, but they have not yet secured first to win back-to-back Marble League, something that is not super crazy. Obviously, they have not yet been the first to win back-to-back Marble Leagues, but that's just ridiculous. But back-to-back Marble Leagues is not too out there.
And then they have
the
triple.
Savage Speeders, yeah, well, that would be cool. But the Savage Speeders still have one attainable goal in front of them, and that is to put a back-to-back Marble League victory up on the board and be the first to do so. So I think that this year is still a year the Savage Speeders are going to come out extremely hot. They did well in the friendly round. They have a perfect track record as perfect as can be in Marble League. So, as far as a consistent team that is guaranteed to give you points, your times 2 Savage Speeders. That I'm gonna go with them already. So I'm just gonna click.
Yeah, you've convinced me. Savage Speeders really is the better pick.
Whoa, you're changing from Hazers?
Yeah, they're more consistent than them.
Yeah,
I mean that's fair. I did think you made a good argument for Hazers, but you might be picking them again.
Like Hazers will definitely be on my team.
Hazers
picks.
can sit in that bottom 3. Those bottom.
It's just like just looking at history here, the Speeders do have a more consistent points
because
haul.
you are honestly you could argue just
high.
put Speeders in first because you know they're going to get you a top 5 finish, and that's already a ton of points and already sits you above a lot of other teams. I honestly was thinking of putting them there. Do I think they're going to win? No, but do I think they're going to be a top 5 finish and give me a lot of points? Yeah.
The reason I don't say put Speeders first, even though you know they will do well, is because that times 3 team, if you're really picking a fantasy team to try to win, you really need to pick the team you think is going to win. And if you think the Speeders are going to win, then pick them. But
I would disagree with that.
And why is that?
I've won a fantasy league, and my number 1 team was not the team that won that season.
Right, but the other 4 teams must have also been pretty damn good.
Oh no, I predicted the top 5. I just in the different orders. So,
right,
but you saying the top 1 is what's going to make or break it? That's not true. It's honestly, if you can predict all 5, you're probably going to win.
But what's easier, predicting the top 1 or predicting the whole top 5? You did something that may never happen again in the history of fantasy picking.
I mean, there'll be plenty of chances. I'd say that there's a likelihood.
No, but it's still very difficult.
It's rare.
If you can somehow guarantee yourself that you're picking the top 5 teams, you don't know where they'll place, but if you pick top 5 teams, then go by all means.
I can tell you, I bet you I'm never going to ever do that again. Like that was just a once in a lifetime thing.
Man.
So.
You are the Frosby. So if you pick the top 5 teams again this year, I'll give you the Marble Sports connoisseur role. How about that?
Oh, I appreciate it. But yeah, I think we're all locked in Savage Speeders too.
Yeah, we're Savage Speeders.
Listen, I really do say to the people out there listening, trying to pick their team, whether it's this year, next year, whatever, please, 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 if you listen to anything from the show, put Savage Speeders on your team somewhere. I recommend 2 times. Frosby and Mr. Waff, very, very wise men, recommend 2 times, and that's what they went with. Put them somewhere on your team at least, because they're going to get you points. I don't care what you think about the Savage Speeders. If you want to do well in fantasy, in Marble League, especially this year, they got to be on your team. They got to be on your team.
And I'll just say, I can't stand the Savage Speeders at all. Right. So it hurts me to put them in my fantasy year after year after year.
Right.
But I'm also competitive and I want to win. So I'm going to do what I need to do to win. And that means putting the team I loathe onto the bracket, right?
Mm-hmm. So. Now, Frosby, that is a sign of true marble maturity.
And if you need more convincing, I have a monocle, so you know that my opinion has already been vastly elevated.
Oh my God, he's got the monocle out. Can you wear the monocle for the rest of the episode?
I can try.
Painful.
I don't know how I would do it.
No pain, no gain, Frosby.
That's fair.
Yeah, wrap it around my head.
How do people wear monocles then if they don't attach them enough?
They don't clip on. The way that they do is they have it on a chain in their pocket and then they bring it up to their eye to read something or to magnify something.
Oh, okay.
They just hold it.
In TV shows and stuff in animations where it's just floating there, it's that's just a bunch of BS. They don't actually do that.
Well, no matter if it's annoying, don't do so. But the monocles, it adds to your credibility for sure. Anyway, moving on.
Obviously.
We have 3 one-times picks. We should be thinking 3 different things for these 3 one-times picks.
Yeah.
I think we definitely are.
And awesome. I'm glad we're all on the same page on that.
And it doesn't matter our order, right? Because they're all the same thing.
Correct.
So no, meaning we have to think about 3 different you should approach these picks in 3 different ways. They're not the 3 of the same picks. For the first one-times pick, in my opinion anyway, you should pick a team that you think is second most likely to win Marble League. And the reason you should do that is because, okay, remember, times 3 you think is going to win. Times 2 you know is going to get you points. You have 3 other spots that will get you points. You want to put a team on there that you also think will win, so that if your times 3 doesn't win, and if your times 2 doesn't win, then your times 1, your first times 1 may win. So you still might have a winning team in your pick selection. So I guess in Frosby's case, since he predicted that Raspberry Racers or who was Mini Maniacs, I guess, might win, you might want to put one of those teams as your number 3 pick. Waff, I'm not sure who you think might also win, but open to you guys. What do you think about that reasoning?
The fact that I had Hazers as my number 2 earlier should clearly tell you that Hazers will be in one of my bottom 3 here, just because of like they are a consistent team, and I have a feeling about them this year.
Okay. And Bill?
I honestly want to put the Maniacs here.
Man, that's an interesting.
Now, do I want to say why? It's kind of hard for me to say why. It's just, you had that gut feeling with your Rangers. Yeah. This is my gut feeling here. I'm not even a fan of the Minty Maniacs. It's just something in my gut says I see an upward trend, and they look like a good team. Another team that I'm not going to put in my top 3, and this is going to kill Waff, but like I can see them, is Team Momo. They're also on an upward trend right now, and they could be a team that could finish in the top 5 this season. But they're also a very spotty team, so it's like I've put them on my fantasies in the past, and honestly, have never paid off. But this season could be the season I could see them paying off. But for my number 3, I will pick the Mini Maniacs. Will this be a good or bad choice? Well, we'll find out in time.
Well.
Indeed.
For me, because I thought the Crazy Cat's Eyes were possible winners, and I still think they might win, I'm going to go with them for my number 3, staying in tune with what I said. They're going to get points. They're going to get points. They're going to get points. I've said this 3 times. I'll say it again. They're going to get points. And so will the Mini Maniacs, for that matter. They're going to get points. I don't like them. I don't think they're going to win, and screw the Mini Maniacs. Who cares about the Mini Maniacs? But they're going to get points. So if you put them on their fantasy team, they're not a bad pick. So, Frosby, I think you have a good pick.
I actually have some bad news. I do have to head out early, but I will give you... I have to leave a little early right now. Something's come up, but I can give you my last 2 picks.
All right.
I hate to hear that. I hope things are okay for you.
It's all good. It'll be all good, but it's like something I have to attend to fairly quickly. Personal stuff. But I can talk for like another 5 minutes. But just wrap up the Frosby picks, My other 2 picks will simply be the Raspberry Racers. I see that upward trend. I see why Waff picked them as number 1 pick. It's a really solid pick. They are showing good signs. And maybe they're not a good Marble 1 team. Not at all. But they're a really good Marble League team. They're a solid Marble League team.
Marble League.
Yes.
Right? They are a past winner. And I know earlier in this podcast, we heard Brendan going on and on about how the Midnight Whisper, a washed up team, they overrated, right? Because they won, but they're just flopped from there. The Raspberry Racers have won, and they've continued to do well. They haven't, topped it, but, they've always been a consistently high team. And I see this as a season, maybe they don't take first, but I can see them podium this season. They're, especially, like Waff said, that qualifier was so strong. 2 golds and a bronze in 4 events. That's really strong straight out of the gate. And if we see that in Marble League, that same start, they could be the team to beat,
I agree. I don't see I don't see a first place from them. I agree a podium is possible. I agree a top 5 is likely for the Raspberry Racers. That's a good pick.
And then for my final pick, what else can I say but Quack Attack? I got to go with my boys. They had a weak qualifier.
Man, even though it's your favorite team, they're not even a bad pick.
They're weak in qualifiers, but they made it, and they're really, really, really good at getting golds, especially in Marble League.
Agreed.
They're not the fastest team. They do decently fine in Marbula 1, but in Marble League, they are good at taking gold, especially in weird events. Weird events that are like tossed out of a bag. It seems like Green Ducks are just naturally good at those weird events. They're like, what the heck did Yellow come up with? Right? What is this? And then all of a sudden, Green Ducks got a gold. And you're like, okay. So like, if this season is like what we've been hearing, he's bringing the most unique events. He's wanting to bring a whole new plate of neat, unique events. This could be the year for Green Ducks because he's bringing so many unique events, and that's what they excel at, is the uniqueness. So
you make a valid and fun argument for the Green Ducks here.
But these 5 picks does mean I have ruled out teams like the Rangers and Hazers, but I think this will be an odd season. I think we're going to see teams in the top that aren't typically up there. I honestly think we're going to see the only usual one in the top 5 is going to be Speeders. I think we're going to see a whole bunch of like new people. Now, Green Ducks and Raspberry Racers have won, and Green Ducks have gotten podiums a couple times. But it's like the conversation usually rotates around Speeders and Rangers. So I want to push this conversation to the new teams, the Maniacs, right? Maybe even
Mellow Yellow. Give me advice on Mellow Yellow.
They're not a new team. And then Momo, maybe go for Momo because they're rapidly becoming a stronger team. Ever since they had that injury and they changed up their team, you've seen an upward trend, which is good. Mellow Yellow, they're dropping. They're dropping fast. I don't know what to tell you. They're just a team that's middle of the pack.
Well, they had 2 golds in the qualifiers.
They're a middle of the pack team, though.
So what do you think about the 2 golds in the qualifiers?
That's a good start. It's a good start. And hey, don't get me wrong. If Mellow Yellow does a great season, I'll be incredibly happy. Mellow Yellow is one of those teams I like and enjoy. So if they do well, I'll be happy for them.
They're one of my favorites as well. Yeah.
So, but yeah.
No, but like. So you think they're downward even though they got 2 golds in the qualifiers? Because I was actually considering Mellow Yellow from one of my picks here, and I just wanted to get your kind of
I wouldn't say downward.
Thoughts on that.
Wrong word. The better word would be they're more of a middle of the pack kind of team. They're a team that like you'll see them every single event. They'll finish from like 5th to 8th every single event. And it's like that way they'll finish in the 5th to 8th at the final end of the season. And they always look like they're good, but they're never like finishing. So, but the fact that they got 2 golds out of 4 events, that's actually really strong. That's a really like, hey, look at us. We actually are here to win some stuff. And honestly, I wouldn't say don't pick them because they are a strong team. There's a reason they've been in every single Marble League and they haven't missed a qualifiers, right?
That is true.
And do note, they've never been re-invited. So, besides, unless if you count that first season, but every team was kind of re-invited because qualifiers didn't exist then. But other than that, they've never finished in the top 3 and got re-invited. So they had to earn their way back in season after season. Same with the Thunderbolts. So, no, wait, they got re-invited one season. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, that's my thoughts on those teams. But I must be going.
Your thoughts are very, very interesting. You leave a lot to think about. Frosby, I do want to thank you for coming on. Your thoughts are always very useful.
Yes, thank you so much.
And just great. It's great to hear from you. When we make our picks, me and Waf finish up, we will tell you what those are. And,
oh yes, I'll listen to the podcast afterwards too, like 100%. I want to hear what you guys think.
Great.
And then you guys can, once I leave this, you guys can completely trash me and be like, "Yeah, Frosby's a freaking idiot. What is he doing not picking a Rangers?"
It's hard. I would if you're listen. No, listen, Frosby, if you came on here and you told me to pick Shining Swarm and Limers and you left the show right now, I would trash you for 5 minutes. I would sit here and be like, why do we even bring them on the
I
show?
know the Shining
Why do we even have
Swarm
the Frost?
are the worst
Like, why
team
even need the
in
Frost if you
Marble-
can tell me Shining Swarm?
Marbles, period. So yeah, I wouldn't come in and tell you to pick any of those
Right.
teams. Like when I came up with my list, what I did first was I looked at the list and I said, okay, which 8 teams am I just eliminating from my thought process, right? Which teams am I just like not going to even consider? And after I got rid of the 8 teams I'm not even going to consider, then it made it a lot easier for me to pick 5, because out of 8 teams, you can pick 5 a lot easier, right? So
yeah, exactly. So, like, but what I'm saying is, you didn't come in and give us thoughtless picks. You came in with a really good argument against the Rangers, one that unfortunately I'm not. I was almost swayed. I almost picked Crazy Cat's Eyes for ×3, and I still might make the change. I don't know if you can actually make a change.
You can restart.
No,
and
you cannot.
Once you get to the end, it'll ask you
I guess I couldn't
submit
restart.
or restart. At the end, it'll tell you that.
Okay. So I still might. I was like Frosby, man. I was inches. I was millimeters from picking Crazy Cat's Eyes for ×3. But like I said, my connoisseur gut told me a Rangers. But you made a very good argument, a very factual argument against your Rangers, and so your ideas and your picks are really good. They're like, I think mine are really good and worth looking at, but yours, even though different from mine, are also really good and worth looking at. So it was just extremely helpful to have you on today. Guys, I can't stress enough. Follow what Frosby's saying. He knows what he's talking about. He's won a fantasy before. I've never claimed that. So,
mind you, it was for Marbula. It was for Marbula 1. It was for Marbula 1. I will state that I have a better read on Marbula 1 than Marbula League, but that's just my thing. And if you want to follow, I'm sure you guys will do the same thing, in case you didn't. If you want to follow my bracket, I will be going by Zyder Z3, Big Tommy Town. That's the name of mine. I gotta go with my team name, Zyder Z, but I gotta spice it up because it's my 3rd season. So, if you want to follow mine, that's what you're gonna see. So I'm gonna submit it now, and
we might even check in on the Frosby week to week to see how he's doing.
Yep, might have to. But I've submitted, and now I must be going. But it was wonderful being on this show again so soon. But it was wonderful.
We're gonna meet up again in a few weeks when fantasy is over. The end is here, and we are going to discuss and debrief
and trash everyone's
if we really
picks.
made any mistakes or. Like, what happened? Yeah, just debrief, to deliberate.
I can't believe Limers got first. Something like that,
Oh my god! If they get first, listen, I would love that.
I can't believe Shining Swarm won.
No, Shining Swarm wins. Dude, I can't even. If Shining Swarm wins, then we gotta scrap everything we've ever said about fantasy and restart.
Yeah, fantasy's
year.
just
But
picking like which 5 teams look the coolest, or something, right?
Dude, that's what it comes down to, my man. If you if the Shining Swarm win this year, then I will invalidate the whole guide that you just listened to.
Yeah, no, I would
if
too.
If they do not,
I would too.
Yeah,
I would.
But
love
anyway,
to see that. I must go. So peace out, guys.
Have a good
I
night,
hope you have a good
Frosty.
rest of the press conference or the.
Pause your audio, to end your audio and send it, of course, to us too.
I will do that. See ya.
Bye.
Later.
All right. Well, that actually is the first time I think that we've actually had a guest leave before the end of the episode. Maybe one other
I think
time.
willingly. Because Hershey, I think his second guest episode, his power went out, and so he was missing for the last 10 minutes. But
oh yeah,
I think that is the first willing guest to leave.
Yeah, but guys, Frosby, he knows what he's talking about. Listen to his picks. He's got good advice. He's about as good advice as me or Waff, probably even better. He really gets into the stats, and he has a really good opinion with the gold average. A lot of interesting stuff there. But that leaves 2 picks. I yelled that. But that does leave 2 picks left. We have picked the O-Rangers. All right, being me, I'll say what I picked. We picked the O-Rangers as a team that's going to win.
I picked the Hazers.
We picked the Savage Speeders as a team that's going to be the most consistent. We picked the Crazy Cat's Eyes as the second most likely team to win. Waff picking for your 3rd pick.
For my 4th pick.
No, 3rd pick. What did you pick?
I am going team. Oh, Hazers.
Hazers. Okay, so he picked the Hazers for that. That leads us to our 4th pick. The 4th pick, in my opinion, what you should think about for your 4th pick is the team that you think is is also going to be the most consistent. Savage Speeders might be the one you think is most consistent. Great times too. But who else? What other team do you think is going to be the most consistent? You definitely want to have that there. Or if you don't want to pick another consistent team, number 4 might be better stated as the team that you think has the most current momentum. That's probably better for number 4. Number 5, we'll talk about number 5 in a second. But actually, with number 4, I'll change my answer. Number 4 is good for the team you think has the most current momentum. Should be the team you pick for number 4. And honestly, I'm bouncing between Mellow Yellow and Raspberry Racers for that answer. Waff, what do you think?
For me, it's Momo, and it's for the same reasons that Frosby mentioned. Like I've said it for months now. Like Momo has been on that upward trend recently.
Okay.
And as I've just said earlier in this episode, M1 does not count as much when looking at Marble League, but like it is an indicator of like their confidence and their skill. Like they are making their way up recently the past like year or two, and it's like. I have and as a Momo fan, I feel like I would be remiss to not even like consider them for my team at all.
Fair enough. So if you're gonna go with Momo, that's not a bad pick at all. As far as the most momentum, Raspberry Racers seem to have it. Mellow Yellow got 2 golds, man, 2 golds, and they did bad in the other 2 events, but they had 2 golds in the qualifiers. And if I look at my stats, because I had a different basket of stats here. I had stats talking about the overall performances from all time of like the most important events, 5-meter sprints, things, stuff like that. Mellow Yellow has pretty good stats. They're up and down, but they have a couple golds in 5-meter sprint. They have a good performance in block pushing, good performances in collision, good performance in sand rally, long jump, good performances, balancing, a good performance. So they're up and down, but they do have some good performances to their name. If you look at the qualifiers for this year, the bad performances from them came in funnel endurance and sand rally. They've, in old stats, do have a good performance in sand rally, so they could be up and down in sand rally. They have 2 bad ones, but they do have a good one. And then funnel endurance has always been tough for them, but they've been bad at funnel endurance so long, maybe they will pick it up this year. So Mellow Yellow is not a bad pick, but it's hard for me to pass up Raspberry Racer, but it seems almost too obvious.
Well, like, you mentioned like how Raspberry Racers had like only 2 goals in 1 bad event, but like they got 3rd in relay race. They had 3 good events in qualifiers.
No, I did not say they didn't. I was talking about Mellow Yellow. They had 2 goals and 2 bad events.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. They kind of blended together there.
So I mean, they also did bad in sand rally. It's a hard pick. I feel like my viewers are going to scream Raspberry Racers here. Did they talk about the game, or would that be a different episode? What do you mean by that, Maddie?
You can finally talk about it. Like you've known about this for quite a few years now, Brent, but they finally officially announced the JMR video game.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I did know that was in very, very primitive development, like a few years ago, Mel told me. But I didn't know that was actually coming out so quickly. That's really
cool. It says game. I guess it could be like a board game or whatever, but like I feel like like the way it's mentioned, like it's a video game of some kind.
That would be really cool. I'll let the messenger dig into that, and we'll talk about that next week.
There'll be an official announcement, which is like a trailer or something on the 9th or whatever. So there'll be more information later. So next week would definitely be the best episode for that.
Listen, I'm gonna go with my live chat here on the YouTube. We have a few viewers. It's a later episode today. Sorry about that, guys. It's a different time than usual. But I'm gonna ask you guys, who has the most momentum? Who should I pick for number 4? Should I pick Raspberry Racers or should I pick Mellow Yellow? And Waff, I'm gonna ask you too, because it's hard for me. Because I feel Raspberry Racers, but I also feel Mellow Yellow is not one to pass up on this time.
Well, as a fellow connoisseur, I would very much recommend Raspberry Racers just for their incredible qualifying performance.
It's fair. It's hard. It's hard to... but it feels like almost a stupid thing to pass up on the Raspberry Racer. So, listen, I think that it's going to be impossible to not pick the Raspberry Racers here. It really is impossible.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to pick the Raspberry Racer for number 4, and I'm going to settle.
All right.
What about
I'm
you?
going to go with Momo.
Not a bad
Momo. All right.
Number 5.
And now for, number 5.
Number 5. Now, number 5 is a fun pick always, because even if you're trying to win Marble League, even if you're trying to win the fantasy, get number 1 and better than everybody else, you as a marble sports connoisseur, we're assuming you're one if you're capable of researching and becoming someone who might be able to win the fantasy. You as a marble sports connoisseur or close to it, understand that marble sports is unpredictable. Marble sports leaves a lot of odd and unexpected moments, a lot of odd and unexpected winners and defeats, a lot of odd and unexpected turnarounds, a lot of weird performances from teams out there. So your 5th pick is a dark horse pick. Your 4th pick is based almost entirely on feel, almost entirely on the understanding that, yes, you could pick Mellow Yellow because they also got a lot of golds in qualifiers, but you understand that because of the unpredictability of marble sports, it might be a bad decision to leave out all the teams that you don't think are going to do well. So your number 5 pick is the pick that you just have a feeling. You have an odd and unexpected but still existing feeling that they might do very well this year. That pick for me, I am bouncing between a few, but let's turn to Waff and see what he thinks for this one.
All right, so I'm going to say something gets pretty crazy, but I want you to sit here and hear me out
Number
for a bit.
5 is the crazy one, so I'll hear you out.
Okay, so Rojo Rollers is my pick, and I'm going to explain why.
Go ahead.
So the thing is that the one thing that the Rollers have struggled at since pretty much the infancy, really, of JMR is qualifying. In 2018, they came close, but like that was back when for Winter Marble League, they had like the 3 groups, and they were 1 point away. They were beat out by 1 point by the Crazy Cat's Eyes, which if they had tied with them, they actually got a higher medal, like a gold, whereas Cat's Eyes only got a silver. So if they tied, they would have taken the place from the Cat's Eyes in 2018. But like every other instance, they have been doing very bad at qualifying. So the fact that they have finally gotten out of that funk and have made it back is big for them. Like that is huge for the Rojo Rollers. So it actually gives them a chance for like the first chance they've truly had since 2016. 5 years, man. That's a long time.
Yeah. I actually really like that argument. I really, really do. I have to say, Waff, I actually think that's a good pick.
I didn't expect to sway you with that. Wow.
I actually think that the Rojo Rollers are a great number 5 pick. If you like it, lock it. Let me talk about mine. Mine is a process of elimination here, and this one's going to be even weirder than the Rojo Rollers. But just bear with me. Mini Maniacs, I'm not picking. Let's eliminate a bunch of teams here. Mini Maniacs, I'm not picking because I think they're a too obvious pick that it's going to end up a lot lower on the standings than you think. Thunderbolts is a team that I've always avoided, even though they're good. And I just don't feel like they're going to be a top 5 team this year. I think they're going to be another kind of galactic type team that's going to end between 8 and 5 just consistently. So they're not a bad pick, but they're not like an amazing pick. Mellow Yellow was awful last year. Mellow Yellow was awful in M1. And while I have 2 golds in qualifying, I just can't bring myself to pick the team because I just have too much of a sour taste from the past couple of years of Mellow Yellow. And I just have to say that I think Mellow Yellow, I need to see a good year or a promising year from them before I probably pick them in a coming year. So I'm going to hold off on Mellow Yellow. Indigo Stars, they have enough experience that I really see that they're not a good team, and they're not a good team out in the main events. I cannot pick them. I do not recommend them at all. I can recommend Thunderbolts, Mini Maniacs, maybe even Mellow Yellow, but I cannot recommend Indigo Stars. I'm going through these teams here to eliminate because I want to give an opinion on each of these teams. If you're wondering like, oh, well, what do you think about the Chocolatiers? Hazers. Hazers are a great pick, but they're a really consistent pick, kind of like the Savage Beaters, but they're not the kind of dark horse team that I'm thinking about for number 5. They're a tough pick to pass up, but like picking the Hazers would be like picking another Raspberry Racers, and you really should try to diversify your picks because it probably will end up better for you if you pick the right dark horse. Rojo Rollers are a great pick. I'm not gonna pick them because I'm not completely swayed by the fact that I think they'll do well just because they pass qualifying, but I am swayed enough that I think if you make that argument, that it's a solid pick. So I do think for WAF it's a solid pick. Shining Swarm is a really bad team. Frosby did not recommend it, so I don't recommend it. And also, we don't know much about them.
I want to just say one thing in their defense is that they've never made it before, so we literally have nothing to go on. They're almost a completely wild card. We do have some things to go on, and they've always been a very unpredictable team. I do not like them for this year. They were not... Well, they were good in Showdown, but I don't know. Limers, as you guys know, my top 3 teams, I haven't been able to order them actually in which one I like the best, but my top 3 teams that I love are Limers, Crazy Cat's Eyes, and Mellow Yellow. Limers and Mellow Yellow I'm not even picking this year. Of course, the 2 coming after that would be Green Ducks and Gliding Glaciers, but those are like my 4 or 5, and then it goes on from there. But I can't pick Limers this year because they've just finally got back in, and to put all my eggs in that basket... I can't because we've seen them be so bad. We've seen them fall apart. I just can't. Chocolatiers. We'll skip Gliding Glaciers and go to the bottom here. Chocolatiers are like a more quiet Limers. They are awful. They are an awful team. And they've shown actually more times than even the Limers in the Swarm. They're not really very good. So I really like those. Chocolatiers got to be my least favorite pick. If we're picking a bottom 3 for fantasy or bottom 5 for fantasy, Chocolatiers are that. I gotta say, I actually mixed up Swarm and Gliding Glaciers with my statement earlier. I was talking about Gliding Glaciers, not the Swarm.
That's fair. Green Ducks. You would think as my 4th favorite team and a very consistently good team, I would pick them. My problem with the Green Ducks is that they've been on a downward trajectory since their first year, and even in Marbula 1, they've been kind of lacking. I feel like the Green Ducks will make a resurgence in a year or 2, but it's not this year, and I feel like this year might be a big tank year for them. I hate to say that because, like Frosby, I am a Green Ducks fan. They are in my top 4 teams for as far as, like, if I had to buy shirts from JMR, that would be a shirt that I'd buy. I love the Green Ducks. I love the logo. I love the name. I love the marbles. I love everything. I love Quack Attack. Please, Green Ducks me all you want, but I just can't pick them. Team Momo is probably the only team here that I can't give a good explanation for, but I just don't feel them. I just do not. I feel like
that's
Team
fair.
Momo is a team
fair.
that you're gonna find lacking, find having a weird DNF on an event that you can't even DNF on, something like that. So that eliminates everybody but the Gliding Glaciers. Now, why am I picking the Gliding Glaciers? Because, and this is not what I think when Frosby listens back to this part of the show, he's going to be very surprised since if you remember, I was very studious. I was very acute in my research to come to the O'Rangers and the Speeders and the Cat's Eyes and the Racers for my first 4 picks, and then I'm going with the Gliding Glaciers. So why am I doing that? It's a feel. It's a dark horse pick. We have never seen these 4 marbles on the track besides the qualifiers because I believe that the Gliding Glaciers used in the years ago are not even the same marbles as the one used this year. There's a different team. It's a made-over team. So we have 4 marbles we know nothing about. And
really? They changed their uniform?
I'm pretty sure that they're different marbles. Even if they didn't change their uniform, I'm pretty sure they're different marbles. So with that in mind, they have a silver medal. And they have a relatively consistent performance. And they have 8 points, 5 points, 4, and 12. They did well in Sand Rally. They almost won the Sand Rally against some pretty good teams. They did well in Swing Wave. Their Funnel Endurance and 5-meter relay for first time, not even bad. So they beat out...
Oh, no, Brendan, they are full-blown different marbles. In 2018 was Glide, Glidey, Glace...
Yeah, exactly.
Glacier.
So we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, it's the new ones, yeah.
So we've only seen them compete in a few events, and they did all right. They qualified. And so I have to say, the Glaciers are that weird dark horse pick that I'll be excited to observe this year. They may suck, and I would hate to see it. But I think the Gliding Glaciers might come out a little bit stronger as rookies than you might think, because this is a rookie team. Yes, they've competed before, but it's different marbles, so this is a rookie team. And we've seen so many times rookie teams come out and do a very good job. Green Ducks is a perfect example.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So for this particular year, I'm going to do something you guys did not expect. I'm going to do something that you guys are probably sitting there like, what is Marble Guy thinking? What is Brendan thinking? I'm going to go with the Gliding Glaciers for my...
Man,
for my fifth pick.
The fact that you're picking Glaciers over Limers is surprising to me.
No, be careful. Limers have a track record, so I don't want to pick Limers.
I know about the statistics thing, but like, that's the fact that you, a big Limers fan, would actually put Gliding Glaciers over one of, if not his favorite team.
I actually
is
love
crazy to me.
Gliding Glaciers. They're in my top 5 teams, as I said. So they're like my top 5 again is the first 3 I can't order very well. Limers, Mellow Yellow, Cat's Eyes. Those are my top 3. I love those teams. Beyond those 2, I have Green Ducks 4th and Gliding Glaciers 5th. I love the Glaciers. I do. And I am excited to see them compete. And the thing is, the awesome thing about the Glaciers is that they don't have a track record. We know nothing. They are a perfect number 5 pick. They were perfect to round out this team. So I'm going to lock in Gliding Glaciers. And if they do bad, then they do bad. But if they do good, they do good. I will name my team. Should I name myself Marble Guy for my team name or MSW? I usually go MSW, but I think...
Normally you do MSW.
I think people know me as Marble Guy now. So I'm going to go with Marble Guy.
True. I will say that something that I love about this year is that, so with my fantasy team picks here, it doesn't have any of aside from Rojo Rollers, it doesn't have any the out of nowhere teams like the Glaciers, the Indigo Stars and stuff like that. But the thing is, I actually really want to see those teams do well. So even if my fantasy team sucks this year, I still have something awesome to look forward to in seeing these teams. The idea of seeing the Glaciers win is so amazing to me. I don't care if I lost fantasy because of it. I would love to see that.
No, I would love to see that as well. And I also put a timestamp down to cut out this stuff like right now and a few minutes ago when my dad came in again. But to wrap up, yes, there's a lot of unpredictability this year with the new teams. So whatever you guys pick, it's gonna be a good one. I've locked it in and I'm ready. We're going to save emails for next week so we can give you guys time at the top of the episode to talk about what you guys think about fantasy. Please write in and talk about your fantasy. We want to hear about it. And we'll also do the second retrospective next week as well. Trivia also. Well, I don't even know if we're doing trivia since we're kind of replacing it with the retrospective for a while, but we might be getting it in there here and there. Next week's going to be a housekeeping episode. We're going to cover some RML things for the future. We're going to cover... some Marble League things. We're going to cover some news like Piney and the JMR game and all that kind of random stuff. And we're going to bring us right to the start of Marble League. This has been a complete guide to picking a fantasy team. I hope this was helpful in some way. I hope that you feel a little bit more confident in picking after listening to me and the great Frosby and the great Waff. And we will see you guys next week, and good luck on your fantasy teams. Please email in so we can hear all about what your picks are and why you picked what you picked.
Yeah, hopefully this ages well, this video, and it never goes out of style.
For sure. So, Waff, take us out. Gliding Glaciers, guys, with the Dark Horse pick, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Roll on, Marble sports fans.